Here's McAnuff, goes past a couple, into the box, get the shot off. Yes! We're at Wembley! After the ball in. Oh, what a chance here! They've done it! Paunovic! Lafondra looking to get goal side of Font. Lafondra away from Davis! 3-1 Reading! 3 points Reading!
Hello and welcome to an Elm Park Rolls Live with the news that Veljko Paunovic has been removed as Reading manager. It sounds like a mutual kind of agreement, but wow, we finally managed to get our first win of 2022. And then half an hour later, it's announced, Alex. I mean, it's very
so confusing. Isn't it? So confusing, isn't it? We've wanted it for weeks now. Reading fans have been calling for it for weeks and nothing's happened. And then all of a sudden, we win a game and he's gone. I just can't make sense.
It's so dumb, isn't it? It's so like our owner to do something completely you don't expect at the time. And it appears that he was kind of like told yesterday, or they came to this agreement, but that obviously wasn't out in the public domain. But my big question is, Paul Ince, where has that come from, Alex? Because that is so left field.
It feels like they've just gone around the training ground after the game, after a session, right? And just gone, has anyone's dad got any coaching experience? And Tom Ince piped up. Oh, yeah. I'll just get on the phone to him.
I know someone.
Paul Ince, Paul Ince has just popped down after training one day to pick up Tom, and he's just got the job somehow. Like, it's such a weird left field choice, isn't it? Guy hasn't managed since 2014 when he was in charge of Blackpool. Yeah. It's just such a weird, like, left field choice. I mean, he is alongside Michael Gilkes, so it's not completely it's not doing it completely on his own or anything. But it's just such a weird choice. And the quote from Paunovic during the interview he's just done it just baffles me when the club have made this decision afterwards.
Yeah, totally. You're talking about the quote when he said that him and the owner come to the kind of conclusion or agreement that the fans needed a manager they could get behind in the club because it had become, he didn't say this, but I'm kind of ad-libbing this, is that, of course, clearly it's become too toxic and the situation is kind of out of control. But then Paul Ince, I mean, it is interim, but get your comments in and we'll kind of react to that because, and if you can, retweet this on your Twitter or share it on Facebook because you want to get as many opinions involved as possible. But yeah, I would agree with that with Joe here. Credit to Pauno.
Yeah, he didn't need to come out there at the end and do his interview. You know, he'd already left the club under the mutual consent banner, and like his interview was honestly, it was a very classy interview given the circumstances. I think it's not a case of like him having to do that or anything like that. And I think he's come out and given a lot of he deserves a lot of respect for coming out and doing that interview afterwards, certainly.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, in the midst of this 3-2 victory at Preston, which was absolutely huge, that's kind of got lost for a bit. Obviously, we'll come back to that later at some point, won't we? You know, we'll just remember that in the kind of like 10 o'clock tonight or something. But it's so weird to think that we would do this right now. Well, it's the right decision. I'm not saying it's not.
I mean, that's the thing. After so many defeats in a row, like, what's the logic? Like, and obviously, so Paunovic and Dai and Pang or whoever actually has made the decision, nobody really knows. Of course, they'd already come to this decision before today's game. So whatever the result was going to be, it sounds like this was going to happen either way. But it's such a strange time, doesn't it? Because we've lost 8 in a row. Fans have been calling it for weeks, and now they've just done it. Dale's asking what's Ince's playing style as a manager and how does he set his teams up. Honestly, he hasn't managed anybody for 8 years now. So
who knows?
Who knows? Like, he could, for all we know, he's been keeping up with football, football tactics and football styles over the last 8 years, and he knows exactly how he wants to implement the team. But for we might see the same starting 11 on Tuesday night.
Yeah, who knows? And also, to Steve here, it does definitely say about interim kind of joint manager with Michael
interim. It's interim until they decide. Yeah, while they embark on the thorough search for a new permanent manager, Paul Ince to take charge of first team affairs on an interim basis alongside academy manager Michael Gilkes.
Yeah, I really hope Paul can do the job as well here, James, because we need desperately someone to come in.
How many wins do we need now with Paul Ince in charge? 4,
quite a few. I'd
5?
say quite a few because Derby, yet again today.
Derby are 5 points behind us now. I mean, it does sound. It still sounds like a bit of a shambles, though, right? Like the players apparently are coming out saying they didn't know who the new manager was in the dressing room after the game. None of them knew that none of them knew Paunovic was going today, which I guess is quite understandable. Tom Ince presumably knows, I guess, before the game, but it just seems such a strange kind of decision to be making, to not even tell the players who the new manager coming in is after Paunovic has left.
Yeah, I totally agree with Joe here. We should have given it to him. As if it's going to be an interim one, we should have given it to Gilkes.
The other thing is, of course, is that you're giving the job to Paul Ince. You're bringing him in and you're paying him wages as well, which just doesn't make any sense really either.
Yeah, you would guess here, Jamie, that both Mitrovic and Fortune are leaving. I can't see any of them staying. I would find that.
I would imagine they might stay until the end of the season, just because Paul Ince isn't going to have a coaching staff set up ready to just bring in the middle of the season. I would imagine.
Yeah, if you have
just as a personal opinion, I'd be surprised if he's got a coaching staff ready to go and to come in straight away. I think
who knows how long he's known about this. Big question I have: did Tom Ince know about this during the game?
You've got to imagine. So right? Yeah, Steve, I agree. Ince he's got to command some respect in the dressing room, right? He's been there and done it. All these players are playing in the Championship. Ince has been to World Cups. He's played for England. He's won Premier Leagues. He's won trophies. He's managed teams. I mean, yes. He hasn't managed at the top level, but he's managed in the Championship before with Blackburn and Blackpool. I don't think MK Dons were in the Championship when he was manager, but he has managed at a reasonable level. And alongside that, he's played at the top level of the game, right? So players you would hope would respond to him in a similar kind of way, maybe to kind of somebody like Frank Lampard when he was in charge at Derby.
In what we're pinning our hopes on, isn't it? Let's be honest, Alex. Nobody wanted this situation with Paul Ince coming in. We'd be dressing up and lying, wouldn't we? If that was a choice we'd say that we'd made. But if you're watching this on Twitter, get your comments in below the video and we're trying to react to them. Stephen Sawyers has said, this club is a joke, absolute joke. I'm fed up with the board from Kia to Young.
Well, this is one thing.
I still think it's the right decision, though. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It's just a bit.
Yeah, we don't know what kind of impact on this decision Kia has got. I think the rumours are going to come out very, very quickly that Kia is Paul Ince's agent. Honestly, I don't know if that's the case or not. It will be something that people will end up looking into, I'm sure, over the next couple of days. I don't think it's got any further points deduction implications for this season. All of the kind of like agreed budget that Reading had with the EFL was for first team players only. It doesn't affect coaching staff, and this won't affect Reading's points deductions this year.
Yeah, I'll definitely give them a chance. I'll give anyone a chance who's manager of Reading, Dell, because you've got to, haven't you? You haven't got an option. They're basically aren't they? So the
main thing this season is whoever is in charge is if they can manage to pick up enough points that Reading are in this division next season. Doesn't matter. I don't mind who's in charge.
No.
Paul could be in charge for all I care this season if he gets the results.
I tell you what, I'd take the wage. I would take the wage, but I don't think I'd want the stress. Imagine that.
No, not after today. Today's game on its own was very, very stressful.
Yeah, I don't think my heart rate has actually come down since, especially with this Paunovic news as well. But yeah, just such a curveball from Reading there. Lots of people saying that they're not surprised. And obviously, it's not shocking news because it should have happened. Well, it should have happened probably after the Kidderminster match, shouldn't it, really, Alex? But it's the timing and the weirdness of how everything works at the club. And it's just
weird, isn't it? Everything is weird. Everything is non-conventional. Nothing is what it seems with Reading. Any normal club, this might have been, it might have happened a month ago after we lost to Kidderminster or after we lost to Fulham. But for Reading, they've waited a month and then they've decided to make the change after a win. Obviously, again, it had been agreed before the game, but it's just such strange timing, isn't it? To do that. I think Lee's point here is definitely right. You know, the club has got to do something to get the fans back on side, because the last 2 weeks, the atmosphere at and before and after games has just been dreadful. Even if they can bring in an extra 1,000 fans for Tuesday night, and the atmosphere on Tuesday against Birmingham at home is big and it's rocking, and Reading can somehow drag themselves to 3 points, it's going to be a big game.
I'm not sure really if it's going to. I don't know. I mean, if we'd appointed someone that everyone was thinking,
I don't think it's necessarily the man. I don't think it's necessarily the manager in Paul Ince coming in is going to be the person who's going to drag people in, but I think it's the case of removing Paunovic might get people back.
No, I understand that logic, because it's become so against him, hasn't it, with multiple things, and I'm not going to hide from the fact that we part of a protest that he was one of the people that removed for the reasons that we stated in it. So. Yeah, the correct decision for me.
I mean, if you're watching at the moment, what do you think Reading will still stay up with Paul Ince and Michael Gilkes in charge? It's an interesting question now, because I think the scenario has completely changed from where we were on, say, Tuesday before the Peterborough game.
I'm not sure, Joe. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of abuse. But I mean, we were absolutely terrible, and it's been leading up to this for months and months and months, and probably years with Dai Young is some crazy decision. So I don't think it's the fans that are the issue. I think the players need to step up. They have stepped up today. Got away with it against Peterborough on Wednesday. Let's not pretend that we played well in that game, because we didn't. Peterborough should have won. So, yeah.
I think just for a minute, I just want to kind of give Paunovic some credit as well for the job he's actually done before the last 6 weeks or so, because he has been dealt, and let's be honest, he has been dealt a terrible hand at Reading. He's made, one permanent? I think he's made one permanent signing for money, which was Ajaria. He's had no real luck with injuries. This season, he's been able to sign nobody. The club have basically hung him out to dry for the last 6 weeks. And yes, has he done a fantastic job? Probably not. But I feel for him as a person, because he's I feel like he's put in the effort every week here, and I don't think you can accuse him of not necessarily trying. It's a case of like he was out of his depth, wasn't he? And he's at least been there and committed, and he's put himself there until the end. So I think good luck to Paunovic in the future. Will he get another job straight away? I'd be surprised, but that's football. He might move into another job in 3 weeks.
And as a side note, over Ajaria, who knows what's going on there? So that's kind of, we just don't know, do we? What's going on there? We have no idea, because it could be something, an injury, personal issue, COVID. It's really hard to tell, isn't it? It might be nothing to do with Paunovic, but it could be. But yeah, it's hard to know. So yeah, thanks a lot for joining us on this. I think that's probably enough about Paunovic now. What do you reckon, Alex?
We'll discuss it more on the podcast tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. So if you haven't subscribed to us or listened to on the podcast, listen to us. And we also won today as well.
Oh, I can't wait to do a podcast after a win. It's been such a long time. Find the podcast at elmparkrules.com, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Drop us a like, drop us a follow and a comment. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, look at that. Brutal. All right, then. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll be back with loads of more.